Here's an example of a quadratic equation that we're going to solve using the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula comes in handy when the coefficients are either large numbers or decimals. But before we can use the quadratic formula, you do still have to get this equal to 0. So this 51x is going to have to get moved over. So this gets rearranged to be 3x squared minus 51x plus 80. And this whole thing has to be equal to 0 to be in a standard quadratic equation form. Now, just looking at the equation, we should be able to tell for the quadratic formula that the 3 is A, the negative 51 is B, and the positive 80 is C. So let's just label them underneath. That this is A, this is B, and this is C. Now remember, these are just the coefficients, not the x squared, definitely not the x. Alright, the quadratic formula, I'll just write it off here on the side, is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Now, I usually don't just shove all this information into the whole formula. I do a part of it at a time. I start with the discriminant, which is that expression underneath the square root. I use my substitution technique of a lot of parentheses, replacing the variables. This is so I don't screw up with the signs. And then I plug in the numbers. B is negative 51, A is positive 3, and C is 80. And if you type this into your calculator, you'll come out with 1641. So the discriminant in this case is this number 1641. Big, ugly number, but we really don't care about it. Alright, so let's just continue on with the quadratic formula. We can say x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. But I have set it up in a way that I can just do all my substitutions. Alright, so let's put our discriminant in. That's 1641. That goes under the square root. This is b, and b of course is negative 51, so let's put that in here. Now this minus sign that's out here already is not part of the negative 51. It's part of the formula itself. So make sure that when you substitute it in that you don't get confused which one's which. You need both of them in this case. A is 3. So after simplification, this becomes x is equal to 51 plus or minus the square root of 1641, all divided by 6. Now, if this is a word problem, you're going to have to find decimal answers, because this is not an appropriate answer. This is just a solution, but we don't know exactly what it's equal to. So in your calculators, if you have the front notation one, you are going to want to calculate out the quadratic formula. The problem is, if you type this in, you will get the wrong answer, because what's going to happen is the calculator is going to do order of operations. It'll do the square root divided by 6, and then it'll take that answer and add on the 51. To do this in the proper order, you're going to have to put parentheses around the top. This answer will give you approximately, not exactly, but approximately 15.3, about 15.3. And I have to suggest using your calculator to do this calculation. Make sure you can still end up with 15.3. The other one, of course, is going to be 51 minus the square root of 1641, all divided by 6. And this one approximately comes out to be about 1.7, if we just round to the nearest tenth. So my two solutions are going to be this 15.3 approximate solutions, and 1.7.